We're going to do item number 2 at this time, which is our report on our redistricting. Gunner's back again.
Good afternoon, council and staff. It's nice to see you all again. And we are here following up after our 2 public input meetings. We had very positive public input meetings, both in North and South Mesquite. And so I'm going to bring up my old familiar timeline here, which I know all of you have seen many times at this point. Our November 5th meeting, the purpose of having this meeting today is obviously the council has put together a proposed illustrative plan. The council has solicited public input on that plan. We had an opportunity to get some positive feedback at the meeting. I have checked with the city secretary's office, obviously the instructions to anybody who wanted to submit written comments or a proposed illustrative plan or to go ahead and submit those to the city secretary's office. I have checked with her as recently as this morning and am told that we have not received any further comment other than what you folks heard from the attendees at the public session. So the city secretary's office has not returned anything else. So our point here today is to come and try to designate or to arrive at some plans for consideration at the final adoption, which on our schedule is going to be November the 19th. We have the proposed illustrative plan, and although we didn't get any more comments through the city secretary's office, I do understand that some of you may have received comments directly. As a result of that, we have worked with staff and made a revision plan, which I believe the mayor is going to introduce and talk about, so I will turn it over to him at this time.
Gentlemen, if you'll take one of these and pass them down, I need you to let everyone know that we've had multiple meetings and public meetings and other things, and we had a lot of comments from folks about how do I get something submitted, and we have been opened on this process, and we have been listening to everyone.
It says revised.
Yeah, it should say revised at the bottom. And I have been contacted multiple times over the last 2 weeks in regards to options and ways that people could give input. And I've spoken with our city manager, and I have been asked to look at a number of things. The biggest issue that keeps coming back, quite frankly, has been a very positive issue, which everyone that's contacted me by email, by phone call, or even out in the streets, so to speak, when I'm out and about, has to do with the fact that they are very pleased with the direction that the city is going and like the people that are here now and wanted to see why are we trying to get rid of people that are on the council. Now, that's not I said we're not getting rid of anyone. We had to have a starting point. And as I was asked over and over again to look at positives and ways that we may be able to see some changes and differences, I had asked if we could look at the possibility of a second map or a third map or whatever we needed to do. So what you have is a result of quite a few conversations. We began the process in the beginning, not laying districts over the top and doing other things, and et cetera, but that was the beginning point. That was the illustrative map, and I said that from the very beginning that that's just the starting place. So what you have before you today is another option. It's something that gives us some other options, predominantly yes and 4 and 5. Doesn't change and Gunner can go into the aspects about this, but it doesn't really make a significant difference in all the things that are on there. And so I've brought this to you for the council's discussion tonight, and I'm sure it'll be lively. So.
Mayor, I'll kick it off.
Sure.
Who drew the map?
The consultants.
Okay, and with what input?
Just looking at different ways that we could open up our entire structure for the council members that currently live where they live, so that we can. What it came to me over and over, Mr. Casper, was why can't we have the opportunity to look at all of our council members that are currently in these districts?
Yeah, I think it would be a big negative to draw the districts to help the incumbents who are existing around this table win another election, rather than just drawing solid districts. And so the revised map, I see that as the number one objective. You said it was an insignificant change. The only change I see is that 5 has been increased a little bit going in to grab Mr. Burroughs' home and separating it from number 4, which is Mr. Archer's home. That's a pretty significant change, and that's a pretty big incumbent advantage. And at no point in any of the listening tour did I hear anyone try to suggest that we need to help incumbents stay elected.
I appreciate those comments very much. I looked at these drawings and looked at our existing maps, and I looked at the people that lived here right now, and I think that most of the other districts all have people that live in them. They're very similar to what they're working in today. I think there would be no way for us to draw these maps personally that would not have incumbents that working in the districts they've been working in. If you want to, and I'm not, if you want to talk about districts, just looking at the ones that are drawn, there are several that have large tracts of land in large neighborhoods that our current council members are working in around this table. And
yes, I don't deny that we have incumbents.
That's the way I was looking at it.
I don't deny that we have incumbents. That is true. What I am proposing is that we are given a new map tonight, a revised map, that the single change that was made is to help someone around this table, which I think is the antithesis of the reforms that we put up for a vote, that we heard during a listening tour, that were overwhelmingly approved, such as term limits. That is something that says we need to not have a perpetual incumbency advantage. And then instead of drawing maps that should go forward through the next census and then redrawn through that census, we don't need to take into account who is elected. We just need to draw good maps. And we did that, and then we heard from the community 2 different nights. We had input. They had input through this process, but then to just suggest an alternate map tonight where it helps someone around this table, no thanks.
Thank you. And I didn't have any other good way to present this after hearing from, I can't tell you how many people. I should have kept up with how many people they called. And the one thing that kept coming back to me had nothing to do necessarily with any one individual. I have not talked to anyone. I did this tonight to bring it to this table as a body, not as to go to any particular person or group and say anything other than, and I mean this, my first reaction is we don't want to do anything that causes any problems. My second reaction is every comment I had was not negative that came to me. Every comment that came to me was a positive comment. And I just felt like it's worth the conversation around the table.
Well, my input would simply be if the reason for this map is because we've been listening to people and people are saying positive comments and they're saying that this can be something positive to go ahead and make these changes, and it does. It involves 2 here at the table, but isn't it still about the people? And isn't it still about listening to the people and what people would like to see happen? And, well, the people that the mayor is talking about, apparently, that's saying that they would like to see this type of a change.
Mr. Noshai?
Well, I'm disappointed to see this change this late in the game. These maps weren't part of the process that we took to the people in the roadshow that we had. And more importantly, not once did you hear anyone complain about the fact that incumbents were going to have to run against each other. There was significant debate, in fact, before we went about this process on the criteria to be used. And that was one of the focuses of the criteria, was the geographic location of the existing council members. This is troubling to me. And to me, if this body approves this map, it is endorsing and perpetuating a good old boy network. And I would be very disappointed in this body to approve this new revised map.
Thank you. Gunnar, you said in the beginning that the original illustrative maps were just examples, and you were deciding that you just took everything into consideration. So,
Well, and this is a fluid process, and maps do change, and that was part of the purpose for today. If there were any revisions at this point in time before we go on to final adoption, then this was a vehicle for doing that. And we have Sherry here with us tonight, so if we wanted to even get up the map and work on it a little bit, we have the resources and the opportunity for folks to do that. So we're at your discretion there.
Very good. We have a process and an opportunity to work through these things. I was just trying to make a presentation purely based off of other people's comments. I don't know that we're going to be ready to do this next meeting or not, but we may have some time to go through this.
I'm ready to vote on both of these maps. And frankly, the revised map, it's exemplary of politicians picking their voters and not voters picking politicians. And the only change that was significant was to create an incumbency advantage, to peel off and grab Tandy's neighborhood so that he wouldn't have to run an election against Mr. Archer. I think it's the antithesis of what a fair district map drawing process looks like, and it's very much what happens in the dysfunctional Austin and Washington, where they gerrymander maps to help their friends. And I can vote no on that map.
And I appreciate that. I look at the way lines are drawn both directions. We also look at the fact that you can draw them to cut people out, and you can draw them to include people. Our first map was drawn to cut people out as well. And there are a lot of different ways that these processes are done and gone through. And I think there's it's just we had one map we drew it the first time, and then we had nothing else beyond that. So I was trying to be sensitive to some of the needs of the citizens, because I have not talked to any one of you prior to tonight. Mr. Michelozzi.
Well, thank you, Mayor. I've just been presented this map, and I hear what everybody's saying. And we were set by your schedule to where we would have a public hearing tonight, and we could have another public hearing on the 19th, and that we were set. And it was kind of set up to where we would allow multiple public hearings to hear from the public, to hear what they had to say, and then, we could take a vote today, but it was probably more looked at that we would take as much public comment as possible and go to the 19th. Does that sound about right?
That is correct.
So, the mayor says that he's got people telling him things, and we've got a public hearing set tonight. We've got a public hearing set for the 19th. And I don't see any harm. I mean, the election's a year from now, so I don't see any harm in letting the people tell us what they want, whatever that is. If they agree with Mr. Casper and they want two council members running against each other and to end what he terms the good old boy system in Mesquite, well, then they can come tell us tonight, and they can come tell us on the 19th. If the mayor's right, and he's got a lot of people saying that they like what the current council's doing and they want to keep as many of us in place also, well, then they get to say that too. And I'm troubled by the notion that we would shut off comment from the public and say, let's vote right now. We have to do this today. I don't like this. Why don't we hear from our public first? See what they have to say. Let's let them weigh in and listen to what they have to say. Listen to what they have to say. It's not about what we want. It's what the public is telling us that they want. Let's actually listen to them for once and then take action on the 19th. I'm not prepared to vote on this tonight, and if I have a motion to vote on any plan, I will vote against it.
I'm just, like I said, I'm just simply trying to bring you options due to input that I've had. Mr. Archer.
Thank you, Mayor. I would concur that whatever we do, if there are other plans presented by any group, I want to make sure we have more than just one night to think about it. Now, have we had any other organizations or individuals give indication that they would be sending more? I thought I had heard the president of the NAACP say that he would be presenting a plan as well. So I was just curious if we'd heard anything else from any other groups, because I hope if they're going to, they would do that soon so we can hear all or see all other potential plans that might be out there from different organizations.
We have not heard from any other group with an illustrative plan. And Mayor, I just want to confirm with our consultant that We are not under any deadline to approve anything on the next two meetings. We have until the end of the year.
That's right.
To make
The only,
this
the only
decision.
deadline under the charter is the end of the year to approve the final plan.
We do have a public hearing on this tonight. So. Yes, sir.
I'll go back to my comment again. I think we should. I mean, I hadn't seen this map until tonight as well, hadn't heard about this, and it was brought to us by you, Mayor, and folks that you've been listening to, and again, the people. So I think they deserve at least that bit, you know. I mean, that's what we've been all about, and I hope that's what we continue to be about, you know, that, and still remaining on schedule, but, and that's what these hearings are for as well. If someone wants to speak up and say something about it, that they can say it. But, yeah, no, I'm not ready to vote on it right now, but I am ready to listen to the people.
Councilman.
Yeah, I mean, this is the first time I've seen this. It directly affects me and Councilman Archer. I mean, I can see that from the other one. But I'm open to listen to what the citizens say. That's the reason we run, is to listen to our citizens and, you know, try to do what they want us to do, what we think's best for the city. So I'll postpone doing any kind of meeting tonight as far as taking a vote, and let's have a couple of nights for the citizens to come and let us know what they want.
Mr. Noce.
Thank you, Mayor. My intentions for tonight were always to have just a public hearing and to continue to have public hearings until the body decided to vote on the different plans. I was just a little surprised this seemed to come out of thin air. So I look forward to meeting the faces and folks that support this plan.
All right. Anything else, Gunnar?
No, that's all. But and let me just clarify, and I apologize if I sowed any confusion on the point. I was not suggesting there be a vote on these. What I was suggesting was just to come to some consensus as to what plans might be considered in the final adoption. I think it's important to keep in mind that at the final vote, there may be these two plans. There may be other plans. If the NAACP, for example, submits a plan, that can be considered at that time, too. So at the time of the final adoption, there's no requirement that we are looking at only one plan at that point. We can still have a selection of plans that the council can then vote from. So I just want to make sure we're clear on that point.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you all.